never used to be afraid of the dark. That changed during the blackout. It started like any other winter storm in Texas, an alert from the power company warning of possible outages. We'd heard it before. We'd survived the February freeze of 2021. My wife Sarah and I made our usual preparations, stocking up on water, batteries, and food. But this time, it was different. The temperature plunged to single digits, and the wind howled like a dying animal. When the power flickered off around 10 p.m., we figured it would come back in a few hours. We wrapped ourselves in blankets, lit some candles, and tried to make the best of it. The house was already an icebox by midnight. Then the real nightmare began. At first, it was just the cold seeping into our bones. Then came the silence, the usual hum of the refrigerator, the distant whir of the highway, even the sound of our neighbors. Gone. The world felt empty. Around 2 a.m., I thought I heard something outside, a scraping sound like nails against metal. Probably tree branches, I told myself. But then I heard it again, closer. Sarah whispered, "Did you hear that?" I nodded, suddenly alert. We peered through the frosted window, but the streetlights were out. Absolute darkness. Then something moved, a shadow against the snow. It wasn't a person. Too tall, too thin. It slithered rather than walked, its elongated limbs barely touching the ground. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. "What the hell is that?" Sarah grabbed my arm. "Close the curtains. Now." We stumbled back, our breath coming in quick gasps. My mind raced for an explanation. Hypothermia? A hallucination? But Sarah had seen it too. Then the sound came again. This time it wasn't outside. It was coming from inside the house. A low, scraping noise echoed from the kitchen like something dragging across tile. My heart pounded. I reached for the flashlight, flicking it on with shaking hands. The beam landed on the back door. It was wide open. The snow-covered floor was smeared with something dark. Something that looked like footprints, but not quite. More like claw marks. Sarah clutched my arm. We locked that door. I forced myself forward, scanning the kitchen. The candle on the table flickered wildly. The air felt wrong, charged like the moment before a lightning strike. Then we heard breathing. Slow, heavy. Right behind us. We turned. The flashlight sputtered and died. A voice, ragged and unnatural, whispered in the dark. Cold enough, yet I grabbed Sarah's hand and ran. We locked ourselves in the bedroom, shoving furniture against the door. Whatever it was, it didn't follow. But it stayed. We heard it moving, scraping, whispering. Then the cold deepened. It was beyond winter now. It felt like death itself had seeped into the walls. Our skin burned from the chill. Our breath came in weak gasps. We huddled together, praying for sunrise. The power didn't return for 3 days. When the lights finally flickered back on, we searched the house. Everything was as we left it, except the back door. The locks were twisted, warped as if something had melted and reshaped them. And in the snow outside, leading away into the darkness, were the tracks. Too tall, too thin. We sold the house that summer. We told ourselves it was just the trauma of the blackout, the stress of freezing in our own home. But deep down, we knew better. The grid hadn't just failed that night. Something else had come through. Months passed, and we tried to forget. But the nightmares didn't stop. I would wake up in a cold sweat, the whisper still lingering in my ears. Sarah was worse. She barely slept. She started keeping the lights on at night, even though we weren't in that house anymore. One evening, she screamed from the living room. I ran in, expecting an intruder, but she was pointing at the window, trembling. There, in the frost of the glass, was a message. 3 words, written in long, jagged strokes. Cold enough yet? We moved again, left Texas altogether. But no matter where we go, the cold follows. Sometimes in the dead of night, I swear I hear it outside, scraping, whispering, waiting.